I'm Kevin Muenzenmayer, and I'm here in the Holbein studio playing around with the new Holbein line of heavy-duty acrylics, which I've been painting with acrylics for over 35 years and have come up with my favorites. And I know that there's going to be some new favorites in the Holbein line because I'm really impressed with some of the colors and the way they work with the surface that I've chosen to work on over the years, which is the Ampersand pastel board manufactured by the Ampersand Art Supply Company, which allows me to get wet-on-wet watercolor effects with the acrylics. And these Holbein colors, especially the transparent colors, are very consistently ground, so I can get a nice smooth watercolor wet-on-wet effect and nice smooth transitional washes. I've already laid down some quick strokes of a very simplified landscape. I used to live in Florida on the East Coast along the Intercoastal Waterway and would see a sunset over the mainland every night. So many times when I'm at a lack of ideas for anything to paint, I will start with a simple horizon line and remember the sunsets from when I used to live in Florida and get those mangrove islands laid out there, and then just kind of let the colors take over. So I'm going to start with a wash of the quinacridone gold, which is in the new expanded line of the Holbein acrylics, and it's always been one of my mainstays in my paintings because it's a nice warm color. It's great for putting washes over other landscapes to give it that buttery feel of the golden hour in a landscape. And I'm just going to slop a thin wash of this down and show you how we can get some nice transitional washes. And I'm just going to thin it out up top here, and I'm going to thin it out with some water up top. Let the flow move on up a little bit. Let it flow back down, and we'll get a concentration of pigment down at the lower edge of where I tip it. Then I'll set it flat, and you can see that nice transition that I've gotten. Now I will add some of this in the reflection in the water below, just real quick brush strokes. Got that color going. I'm going to add some cadmium red light right along the horizon line. I'll let that flow up into the sky. And this is just part of the glow of after the sun has set. Let that flow up a little bit. I can blow on it to help it along. Because the sun has set, we're going to start getting some blue in the upper area of the sky, so I'm going to use some of the phthalo blue, which is another one of my main colors that I use in my paintings. And I'll use a thin wash of that, very thin. I'll add that up to the top edge of the painting, and we'll let that flow down into the gold, which will get a nice even transition, again due to the consistency of the grind in the paints and the intensity of the colors that are in the paints allows me to use these thin washes so I can get a nice concentration of pigment. I've got a nice flow at the bottom. I will tip it back up and we'll get more of that blue up top, and we'll set it flat. The paint will spread out, and then I'm just going to add a little dab of the quinacridone magenta, which is a very intense magenta. I'm real pleased to see that in the new line. And this just kind of adds a little pizzazz to the colors that we've already got down. This is just continuation of some of the layering of color that I used. To progress any further at this point, I would need to take a hair dryer to the painting to get some more washes down on top. But this being as wet as it is right now, we'll just let that dry before I can continue on, and we'll wind up with a real nice sunset piece. Thank you.